Hi guys, it's ASBYT and I've just landed back from New York. I've been there for a few days now for the launch of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 and 10 Plus. Now I've already done my kind of hands-on first impressions of the design and specs, but in this video, because I've had the chance to play around with the Galaxy Note 10 and 10 Plus over the period of about 3 days in New York, checking out some pros and cons, comparing it to some other flagship devices on the market, I thought I would give you a little bit more of a detailed first opinion in the form of 5 things that I've learned in the time that I've had it. I've got some pros, I've got some cons, and I want to discuss them with you. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Right, so the first thing I want to touch on is the display, because there's quite a few people that are saying that it's quite underwhelming the fact that we only have a 60Hz refresh rate, which has been pretty much a standard on smartphones up until Asus and OnePlus decided to up the ante on that. Now, while I can notice a difference if I have two devices side by side and one has a higher refresh rate, I still feel, unless gaming is hugely important to you, a 60Hz refresh rate is more than adequate still right now for a smartphone. And the display on the Note 10 range is still excellent. It will still be there or thereabouts for being industry leading right now. Both devices are very bright, rich, vibrant, and overall they are a joy to use. So while I don't necessarily think the higher refresh rate is a marketing gimmick, I do feel its importance has been slightly overplayed. And kind of along those lines, a lot of people are saying that the fact that the standard Note 10 is only Full HD Plus is a real negative. Now, while I feel it's a little bit disappointing the fact we have dropped to a Full HD display, again I feel this negative has been slightly over talked, because the actual display is still brilliant and there are great smartphones out there with a 1080p panel, and that's exactly what we've got here. Price may be the big key as to why people are upset, but we'll get more into that in a minute. Now I'm going to jump onto one of the famous features that Note devices have, and that is of course the S Pen, and I don't feel that this year it's as big of an upgrade as last year. I think with the Note 9 there was quite a big jump, the ability to take photos etc. with that S Pen, which you can still do this year, but the main update is around Air Actions, which is basically gestures. Now, you may differ, but I'm not a massive fan of gestures in general. There's a lot of talk about gestures coming with the Pixel 4, and it's not an area that I'm massively hyped about. If it improves the functionality, improves the speed, etc. of what I want to do with my smartphone, then I'm all for it. I don't feel gestures do that. I don't feel swiping using your pen is necessarily improving, enhancing what you can do already by just swiping the screen using your fingers or your thumb. This is where I do feel it's a little bit of a gimmick. But of course, until I can test it in more detail, that is just a first impression. Outside of kind of their main new feature, I generally do love using the S Pen, and it's something that I don't feel I need until I actually start using a Note device and I have that functionality and I can create notes, I can take photos, that it kind of all fits back in and it makes me feel whole. And I also feel the S Pen gets certain amounts of flack because some people don't take the time to work out exactly all of the features you can use with that pen. Now, the third thing I want to touch on is battery, and with the 4300 mAh capacity, in the time I had it, it seemed to be working really well. It was looking like you probably received somewhere in the region of over a day's use, which is great. Of course, I didn't have my SIM card in it. I wasn't using it aggressively, but it did have a lot of screen on time because I was doing a lot of filming of the device. And remember, screen on time is one of the biggest battery drainers. So further testing coming, of course, battery tests, etc. But again, in the short time I had it, impressive. What's also impressive is the 45 watts fast charging, which is another key area that I want to test in more detail because the devices we had didn't come with that fast charger. But to put into context, the 45 watts fast charger will generally give you a whole day's use in around 20 to 30 minutes, which is going to be absolutely epic and right up there with the fastest chargers on the market. Next, I want to talk about camera. And this is an interesting one because on paper and the actual camera arrangement, even though it flips to horizontal from vertical, it's incredibly similar to what we've seen on the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, with the addition on the Plus model of the time of flight lens and a few extra features as well. Live focus video and a mode where you can kind of add animations that track your subject when you're creating a video. Starting with live focus video, we actually saw that on the Samsung Galaxy A80. Is really, really impressive and can potentially shape and change the way video is created being able to create that lovely bokeh and blur effect on your video would mean that potentially we might start to see people sway away from using massive big film cameras, DSLRs, because we can still create that lovely depth of field and it's all done in a pocket-sized smartphone. I say in principle because, again, without going into too much detail, which I will do in like a full couple of weeks, 1 month review after I've tested it in more detail, the implementation doesn't seem to be that great currently. It's possible we could see improvements in a future software update, and I think really we should do, because I think the end product could be so much better. Love the idea, need some tweaks. In terms of those kind of tracking animations, it's just not my thing. I'm sure some of you guys will get a lot of fun and enjoyment out of that. It's just not my cup of tea. But overall, the rear camera seemed to perform really, really well. And also I had a chance to play around with the front-facing shooter as well. And on the whole, I was very, very impressed. Of course, a lot about camera performance is subjective, and I will want to hear from you guys your opinions, not only on this video, but on future camera content as well. So we've done 4 points. This is now my 5th and final and kind of conclusion of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 and 10 Plus. It's a lovely design. Feel in the hand, even though on the Plus model it is a 6.8-inch display, it doesn't feel insanely big. It's premium without feeling too bulky. This is aided by the sloping curved design, both front and back. But of course, if you have small hands and you need to reach to those top corners, it is going to be difficult. We've got 5, I believe, great colors. The display is amazing. And in terms of that punch-hole camera in the middle of the front of the display, well, at first I was incredibly skeptical, thinking that possibly the way that the S10 did it was better. I didn't feel I noticed it hardly at all. In the early days, the software seems really rapid, with of course the upgraded Exynos 9825, but it's certainly not night and day from the S line and from the Note 9 from last year, and it is crazy expensive. I think the Note 10 starts from around £870 here in the UK, and the Plus model starts from £1,000. It hurts, I'm not gonna lie, and in my opinion, that pricing structure is where Samsung have had a lot of flack about the fact that the standard Note 10 is a full HD display, and the fact that it doesn't have a headphone jack, and the fact that it feels similar to the S10 Plus. And this is a very key thing. Who is that Note device now for? Who should buy the Note 10? Who should buy the Note 10 Plus? Because the Note range was always Samsung's flagship that had everything, that it was, if you want no compromises, go with that. But whether that's down to the fact that Samsung have got less experimental with the Note range, or the fact that the S range has just got that much better, it now feels to me personally, and a lot of you guys who I speak to, both in the comments and on Twitter and Instagram, that the Plus version of the S range is now almost identical to the Note range minus the pen. All in all, they are both amazing devices. But I just felt with it being the Note 10 range, the 10th year, I thought we would see some fairly large changes, that they were kind of going to pull out all the stops. Better sensors like we've seen announced by Samsung that are going to debut in the Xiaomi Mi Mix 4 from all accounts. Higher refresh rates, even though I don't think they're crucial, go with the market. I just feel Samsung need to look at the identity of the Note device and start making it the be-all and end-all flagship beast powerhouse that we kind of have always known and loved. 2 brilliant phones, especially the Plus model. I just feel they were that close to knocking it out of the park. Central Park, being in New York. Let me know what you think in the comment section below of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 and the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Have they delivered what you expected, exceeded your expectations, or do you feel a little bit underwhelmed? As always, I'll try and sift through as many comments and questions as I can. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you are new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech, pretty much daily content here on YouTube. News, unboxings, reviews. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.